EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. J-Mac, how you doing on a Thursday morning, brother?
Doing well. Dallas Goedert Day. Happy Dallas Goedert Day. Weren't expecting earlier in the offseason for Dallas Goedert to be back. So it's a big positive move, I would say, for the short term in the Eagles' quest to repeat.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Goddard takes a pay cut, John, goes from $14.5, which he was supposed to get this year, down to $10 million guaranteed cash with a $1 million incentive. Look, it's a great move, I think, for the Eagles, but you could also look at it and say it's a good move for Goddard too. I mean, I don't know what his options were at this point in the year if he didn't end up playing in Philly, and he is on the other side of 30, obviously. But overall, a great move, and Goddard does take a pay cut to get the deal done, and he is back officially for the 2025 season.
Yeah, at one point, I think even the Eagles didn't think they'd be getting him back.
Right.
I think both sides had pretty much come to the conclusion that it wasn't going to work out. And but one thing about Howie is he's stubborn, and sometimes stubborn helps because he was going to hold out for a fourth-round pick, be it, like I joked, be it 20. He wasn't going to get it this year, but be it 2026, even 2020, he'll do it in 2028. He doesn't care. He was going to get that fourth-round pick. And then the complications from the salary cap perspective of post-June 1st, it's easier to trade somebody pre-June 1st, but it's easy. It would have been easier for the Eagles to move Dallas post-June 1st. And by post-June 1st, all the budgeting, all the plans have been made by other teams, so it restricts the number of teams that are willing to go after what would be a highly paid tight end in most organizations. Even this one for 1 year, even with a pay cut, still somewhat highly paid. So makes it more difficult. Was a complicated thing, but Howie's got a good beat on the market. It's one of the many positives to him, and he's proven that many times.
Right.
Most recently, James Bradbury. You go back to Zach Ertz. That was clear. It was coming for a long time before it finally came at the trade deadline. So that if you want to look at it just from the short-term perspective, that stubbornness helped the Eagles this time, and they were able to get a player that's obviously better, significantly better than every other tight end on the roster.
Right.
They were able to get him back, and they got him back at basically a $4 million plus discount.
Pretty good stuff there, John. That means 10 out of 11 offensive starters are returning to this offense that just won a Super Bowl. Obviously, the defense was a big part of that as well. But on the offensive side of the ball, John, I don't know if you could ask for much more than that coming off a Super Bowl when your roster is young, by the way. It's not like we got a bunch of 30-year-olds. Goddard's one of the oldest guys on offense outside of Lane Johnson. 10 of 11 starters will return, Johnny Mac, which I think means, come on, offense. Come on, offense. We need you this year. So 10 of 11, John, returning.
Well, we've talked about it. I mean, the Eagles' offense is, on paper, it's the best offense in the NFL. I mean, it's loaded. You have the best offensive line. You have the best running back. You have a top-tier quarterback. You might have the best wide receiver duo. You have a top five-ish tight end. It's the best offense in the NFL if you go from player to player to player. With the one, only question being Tyler Steen at right guard. Can he hold off? But you got a bunch of bodies.
Right. I feel pretty good. I don't know if I feel good about Steen, John, but I feel good about the collection of talent there that Jeff Stoutland will make one of them ready to play.
Yeah, you would think, at least the competency level. I don't think, I don't think
John,
you're
we got
getting
a lot of
Mackay.
bodies in there, man. We got Kendall Lamb, we got Matt Pryor, we got Tyler Steen, we got Trevor Keegan, we got Miles Hinton, Cam Williams, and Drew Kendall. I mean, we got a lot of bodies on that offensive line.
Yeah, but you have, and I'm not. Lamb's a tackle, Kendall's a center. So some of those names I'm going to take out right away. But as we said on tight end, if you're projecting without Goddard, that ain't good.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of bodies,
right?
But it ain't good. They have a bunch of bodies to potentially play right guard. Probably the best, the one the highest floor, if you're doing it from a projection standpoint, is probably Pryor. He did it last year for Chicago. And he did it pretty well, albeit for a bad team. That's probably your highest floor. The highest ceiling, you got a bunch of Kenyon Green, obviously, with the first round pedigree, but awful. I mean, he was awful.
I know. I just feel good about Stoutland being able to do it. I mean, we didn't think Becton was going to play guard, at this point last year. So I just feel like even guys who aren't guards, even guys who might not be, I think somebody's going to emerge. I'm not sure who it is yet. We'll see. But, John, I got to get this in, man. Check it out. We need to clap it up early for my boy Jason A-Team. He drops a $100 banger in here, super chat, 5 minutes into the show for the JAKIB fam. Jason A-Team, thank you, brother. One of our legend members, one of our biggest supporters on here. Jason, thank you, man. I appreciate that so much. Goes a long way in helping the channel, and you started it off early today. Thank you, A-Team. Appreciate it. He says, for the JAKIB fam, thank you, brother. Morning, McMullen and Zander, starting my work week off right. So happy to keep Goddard. How do you think the Eagles are so good at getting players to take pay cuts? It amazes me that they always get away with it all the time, and it feels good to still be the champs. Yes, it does, Jason A-Team. It's a good question there, Johnny Mac.
Well, there's a lot of angles to that. One, nobody likes taking a pay cut. I mean, Josh didn't like it last year. Dallas isn't going to like it this year. But again, Howie has a good beat on the market. And generally when he does that, did it with Slay a couple of years ago when they worked it out with Slay. Did it with Hassan Reddick, which didn't work out. That's one of the few that didn't work out. But if he has a good feel for the market, and I think the belief was that there was going to be more guaranteed money there elsewhere than there was by Dallas Goedert's camp. So number one, that helps because he sees, well, the contract that he wanted is not out there from others. Maybe could have gotten a little bit more money, but then comes the team, from a football, he loves his teammates. He's been here for 7 years. It's the best team in football. So while I joke they sweated, using the swatted term for these nutball political extremists who swat their people that don't agree with them. The Eagles sweated.
Yeah.
The Eagles sweated Dallas Goedert. Now, again, the human nature of that is you got, well, look what happened to Josh. Josh took over as the leader of the edge room. Brandon Graham explained for the first time in his last year. He's still playing for a contract next year, and Josh cashed in big. Now, Josh is a little bit younger, so I think it's going to be more difficult for Dallas. But he loves his teammates. This team's going to be successful. It's just a matter of how successful. And that's where I compare it to Miles Sanders. Now, only from the money standpoint. If you remember when Miles left, because Miles was a free agent, it's not a similar situation from that. But when he left, if you remember at the time, he got one of the best running back contracts. I think he got the best in free agency. But he went to Carolina. Just a horrible.
I think he was like second or third that year.
That was just a horrible football team. A horrible football team.
Yeah, and it didn't work out for Miles, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it ruined his career. He's going to try to reclaim it in Dallas this year as a backup, or try to bite off Blue, a day 3 rookie. look, it's just a bad situation. So there might have been a Carolina type team, a Tennessee type team. And, as we get to talk to Dallas, we'll get more information. There might have been a team willing to offer a little bit more money, but do you really want to go to that team where you're not going to have success? He's got a chance to really have another big season with one of the best teams in football and then get to free agency totally, with no encumbrances.
Yeah, right. And then at that point, it might not matter. Not that it won't matter, but if he's 31 and he gets his big he's not looking for multiple contracts.
No, you're looking for 2 years at that point. And even if you get a 1-year, $15 million deal, it's mission accomplished. So, for those concerned about, there's going to be some ill will from a business standpoint. Sometimes the business of football gets ugly, and this is one of those ugly parts. But you saw it with Josh. They're playing for their next contract anyway. They got to play well, and they love their teammates. And when you're winning, everything's fun. It takes care of itself,
right?
And I think that's what's going to happen. And plus, Dallas is a professional. I mean, he's not going to be out there.
Yeah, no.
Complaining. So, this is a pleasant surprise from the Eagles' perspective to be able to get this player back. And really, if you think about their offseason, a little bit of a shift from their offseason, which was more about the long-term 2026 coming with Jalen Carter, et cetera. Keeping as much cash on hand as possible. And they're able to save, $4 million plus bucks and get a really good tight end back instead of trying to cobble things together with a bunch of backups,
right?
Which is where it was headed.
Any idea what that incentive is going to be for Goddard? Or is it would it be the catches, passing yard, just I guess something like that? Or
I would imagine, and I haven't seen it yet, but I would imagine it'd be game related, because he's missed 17 games.
Okay. Right. He only played 10 games last year. Right.
Yeah. I that would be my guess. Again, until the contract is actually filed, you probably not going to know. Certain guys, maybe Field Yates or somebody will get it. But my guess would be tied to playing actual games.
John, what does this mean, in your opinion, for Goddard's future? Now, I know he's here for 1 year, but do you think that's it? I mean, you look at Kittle, and I'm not comparing the two players. I'm just comparing the scenarios. Kittle is about 1.5 years older than Goddard. He's going to turn 32 in October. Goddard will turn 31 in January at the end of the season, so a year and a couple months older than him. But Kittle gets the new contract. He'll be 32 this season. Goddard won't be 32 basically until his next playing season. So he's got an extra year on him. What do you think the future holds for Dallas Goedert? And is there a small chance it's in Philly past this year?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's going to be similar to Josh. I think that's the perfect comparison.
Yeah.
Even if he plays well as Josh did this year, he's going to price himself out because the Eagles have to deal with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, and then the year after Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they got to make these difficult decisions. I don't see any way. Even if he plays at an all-pro level. And I don't like, Kittle's a 5-time all-pro, I think, 5-6-time all-pro. And even I don't like that contract at his age.
Yeah, me neither.
But yeah, I mean, he's been the best tight end in football for a while. Dallas has had that potential to be the top 5 guy, and he's been on the cusp of that.
Yeah, just struggles to stay on the field, John. That's really all it is for Goddard.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's at the Kittle level if he played 17 games.
No, but I think he would be top 5 if he played 17 games for the last couple of years.
I think
or 15.
I think he's already in the conversation. So I think people would certainly from a depending on what you want, like people get more excited by the high volume pass catchers. But if you want an actual guy who can play old school tight end, who can catch the football, who can block and competently, then you're talking, he's probably already 2 or 3, because there aren't many of those guys led by Kittle. There aren't many of those guys. So it depends on you want, but there's guys who get excited by, most fans, I would say, get excited by the number of receptions and touchdowns. And
Right.
for a number of reasons, that's not going to happen here because you have so much other talent.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I brought it up is because you brought up the point yesterday. Like, if Goddard played somewhere else, right, and reached the open market, and you speculated on what the right fit for him was, it'd be the Eagles. Like, he's the perfect tight end right now for this offense, and that's where I wondered if maybe, I don't know, maybe he doesn't have a great season, and you can get him for a couple years at $10 million a year, $8 million a year, $9 million a year. I don't think that'll happen, but. And John, I want to throw this question out to you as well. And I will say that this is unlikely, but I think it's worth an ask to get the information out or to get your opinion on it. I got asked this yesterday when I put up a post about Goddard at Zander. Is there any way the Eagles could now trade him now that his contract is a little bit more favorable? Now, I responded and said, it's a fair question. I would say it's unlikely at this point, but is that something that you think is possible? Like, you rework the deal, the contract is now maybe a little bit more favorable. I don't know if it even is, by the way. It might not be favorable depending on the void years and stuff. But any chance this is a more favorable move and now Goddard could be traded?
No, certainly not in the short term. Now, if things go south, and which I don't see any way they could go south other than the quarterback getting hurt, but that's every team. Maybe at the trade deadline. No, he's a big part of the team now, and the Eagles take this as a stroke of good luck, of good fortune, that they were able to get him back. Because I mean, if he agreed to a pay cut, we wouldn't have had all this angst right away.
Right.
So this is where they're comfortable at. And no, he's not getting traded.
I agree. I agree. Just wanted to clarify on that. Again, Jason 18, thank you, brother, for the super chat, man. We appreciate that. It goes a long way. And that's a big super there. So thank you, brother, for doing it. Thank you for, as you mentioned in the chat, paying it forward. 18, I'll do the same, brother. I'll do something for somebody today because I appreciate you going out there and doing that for us. So good stuff there. Johnny Mac, now on this. Oh, shoot. I just lost my train of thought on it. I was going to ask one more question on Dallas Goedert, but we'll move on a little bit here. I'll get back to the Goddard question if it comes back to mind. But, John, the other thing, obviously, that happened yesterday that we did talk about on the show was the Cowboys picking up George Pickens. Now, a lot of people talked about that. I do think it makes him better. We had our guy Mark Holmes on, who's a big Cowboy YouTuber, on the show this yesterday afternoon. Cowboys fans are feeling good again, Johnny Mac, but I want to do an exercise with you that I saw going around. And it might not be your favorite exercise, but I'm going to make you do it anyway. All right. I want to rank the top 6 wide receivers in the NFC East. All right. There's some good receivers in the NFC East right now. You got Lamb, Pickens, you got Brown, Devontae, you got Terry and Debo, and you got Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton, who I don't think is very good. But add Darius Slayton or add Malik Neighbors, that's 7. Can you rank them, Johnny Mac?
Well, AJ's 1.
AJ's 1. I agree with that.
CD's 2. That's easy for me. Those are 1, 2. And those are 2 of the best receivers in football. And then it becomes a little bit tougher. I'd put Devontae at 3. I'd probably put McLaurin at 4. Trying to think.
I like Devontae at 3. I didn't think you were going to go there.
No, Devontae's very good.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it. I mean, Terry, you could make a case for Terry at 3, but I did think if I could only have one of those players, and I don't feel like I'm being a homer here, I think I'd take Devontae.
No, Devontae, yeah. Devontae would be the number 1 wide receiver in Washington.
I agree.
That's not that difficult for me. Terry's a very good player. I think he's underrated, but I think he's better suited as a 2, to be honest. From when you're talking about, and again, different beliefs, different. I used to have this argument with my comparison with Jody all the time. My comparison is number one starters in baseball. There's not 30 of them. Technically there are,
right?
But there aren't.
Yeah.
Yes. So when I say wide receiver, I mean true and there aren't 32 of them. And AJ is obviously one of them. The top tier Jamar Chases of the world, the Justin Jeffersons of the world.
Do you think Malik Neighbors is a number 1?
No, but I think he's got the potential to be.
Yeah, me too.
But he and part of it is he doesn't have a quarterback, and so that's why he's got a chance to really spike on the list. Like he's got a bigger upside than Devontae, I would say, but I can't put him even close to Devontae.
Is that because of the player, or is that because of Devontae has AJ Brown in front of him? So even if he does have an amazing year, you're not going to be better than AJ Brown.
No, I think he's never going to be better. Devontae, there's still some size deficiencies, even though he's overcome it. And he's, that limits him somewhat to a certain degree. And he maxes out what he can with the frame that he has. But I think Neighbors is just a little more equipped physically because it's traffic. It's the ability to do everything, to play X, to play Z, to play flex. I think he's got a higher upside, but he needs a quarterback to reach that level. But I mean, you saw him last year with no quarterback, and I think I'd have to look it up. I think he had over 100 receptions with that bullshit team. Now, again, 20-point scorer on a bad NBA team, somebody's got to do it. But he's good. He's good. So
he's really good.
If we're having this discussion next year, he might be up on the list. But right now,
he had 109 receptions for 1,204 yards.
Yeah, I mean he's really good.
That's good. It's a little different than an NBA guy because if you're on a really shitty football team, that's no guarantee you're going to get yards. I mean, 1,200 yards and 109 receptions is pretty good.
He's really good, and that's what I'm saying. But I can't put him above McLaurin at this stage, who's done it for a long time. But I would say if we're doing this next year, he's probably 2 or 3 on this list if things keep going the right direction for him. And he's got a better quarterback situation, not a great quarterback, but a better quarterback situation. I think he's got a huge upside. And then I'm not a Debo fan, as people know. I don't think he's a well-rounded receiver. I think he's more of a manufactured touch player. So he would be last. Did I miss somebody?
No, you got. I believe. Well, where'd you put
Pickens? Pickens, I would put above
6
Debo.
Above Debo. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I got. So yours was AJ, CD, Smitty, Terry, Malik, Pickens, and Debo. That was your top 7 in the NFC East. I think that's a pretty good list there. Mine's a little bit different. I got 1. I got AJ. 2, I got CD, and I happen to think CD is very close. I don't think Malik Neighbors will be better than CD. 3, I got Smitty right now. 4, I got Neighbors. I just like the upside of that player. I think he's going to be really good. 5, I got Terry. 6, I got Debo, and 7, I got Pickens. So I got Pickens a little bit. I got Pickens behind Debo on you, and I got Malik ahead of Terry on you. So those are the only differences that we have.
Yeah, and Malik's going to be better than Terry. There's no question about that. He might even be better than CD Lamb. I
know stats aren't everything, and I really don't think they are everything. But Terry's never even done what Malik did last year. Now I know he hasn't had a quarterback. He's been struggling with the quarterback carousel for a while. Last year he had 82 catches for 1096. He's never had over 1,200 yards like Malik. Now again, I know stats aren't everything, but I really think Malik.
No,
Neighbors
well,
is gonna be a
Malik
beast when he
Neighbors
gets a
is
quarterback.
Malik Neighbors is different from a trade standpoint. I mean,
Right.
he's just, he's a top 10 pick. I forget what he was, like 5'6", whatever he was, but 6 foot, 200, under 4'4". He's got everything. He's got everything to be a great receiver, except the quarterback to get him the football. And even with that, he's going to be 2 or 3 on this if we did this list this time next year. Barring injury, he's going to be a really good player. Really good player.
Yeah. Pretty good receivers, John, in the NFC East. The Cowboys have finally showed up to the party when it comes to weapons. But man, there's a lot of good receivers in this division, man. There really is.
Yeah, there are. I mean, but there's a lot of good receivers in the NFL. I mean, that's the position and that's why this draft was so disappointing for people from the West, because we're used to it now. Every draft, you come in with all these receivers, because that's all they do in high school. I talk about it all the times. 7-on-7 camps, and so you have all these finished products at wide receiver stopping in, coming into the NFL, like Neighbors. When did rookie receivers get 100 receptions on bad? Just you never saw it in years past. You don't see it all the time now. That's at the high level, but it's that's a position where they're coming in waves because of how the developmental aspect of the game has changed and focused on them. Marvin Harrison Jr. went top 10 last year. And Rome Odunze went top 10 last year. I mean, and they're all going to be good. But Neighbors was the best as a rookie. He was he was better than Harrison. He's good, and he's going to be really good. Brian Thomas, later in the first round.
Jacksonville. Yeah.
There's tons of good receivers in the NFL.
There really is.
All over the place. All over the place.
It's really incredible how many of them there are. And I'm with Dank. Dank says Jeremiah Smith is the next great wide receiver.
Yeah, he's going to be.
I don't know if you've watched him play, but holy shit.
Well, he basically won the national championship.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people forget Notre Dame came back in that game, and it was a 4th down play late in the game. And if they would have gotten the ball back, and Smith just, beat, and he's a freshman. He was a freshman. Yeah, he's going to be a great player.
Yeah, he averaged almost 20 yards a catch, I think, last year. He was a fun player to watch, man. No doubt about it. So good stuff there, Johnny Mac. NFC's getting better. The Cowboys made a move yesterday, obviously, with George Pickens, which I think is a good move. We're going to talk a little bit of defense on today's show. You guys remember a couple of days ago, we got into the offense, the expectation. I want to talk to John a little bit about the defense and the expectation. We'll talk about some of the moving parts. We'll talk about the potential changes coming, or if there's any changes coming to the defense. So we'll do that a little bit. And then in hour number 2, we'll talk to Chris Franklin. So looking forward to talking to Chris Franklin in hour number 2. And we'll get his takeaways on the Goddard stuff, on the Pickens move, on the NFC East, on the draft, on everything there. Let's get to one more super chat here from Jason Gates. Got a couple of Jasons showing love today. Thank you, Jason Gates. Finally able to catch you guys live. It's been a minute. Thank you for being here, brother. Love the Goddard signing. Go Birds. How many sacks for a Jomo this year? Over, under 5. Ooh, that's a big number.
Well, that is a big number. I'm going to have to go under 5. It's far more difficult to get sacks unless you're Aaron Donald. Excuse me, losing my voice early. That's a big number. For a player.
Had no sacks last year.
A complete projection player. I love Morrow. I think he's got big time ability. He's going to be a good player, but that's a big number. How many sacks did Milton have last year? I mean, how many sacks did Jalen have last year? I'm not the stat guy. That's why I they're effective. So I don't think
Milton
it's
had
that.
5, and then he had 2 in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, Milton was graded as the best interior pass rusher in football,
Yeah.
from a pressure standpoint. So, yeah, I'd have to go under 5 with Morrow.
I think so too. I'd probably go right around 2 or 3. He did have 1 in the playoffs, which was good, and I happen to think Morrow is going to be a better plug-in than most think for Milton. But yeah, Milton had 5 last year and 2 in the postseason, so 7 total through 20 games. Let me check what Carter had because that would be interesting. I know we didn't have that many. I mean, Carter wasn't a sack machine or anything like that.
No, it's really hard unless you're, like
Yeah.
I said, Aaron Donald or John Randall back in the day. I mean, it is really
Carter had
hard.
4.5. I mean, unless you're what's his name, Dexter Lawrence in New York,
Yeah.
who gets 9, 10 sacks from
But
the middle.
again, part of it is, sometimes when an interior player gets a lot of sacks, you don't have good edge rushers,
Right.
So a lot of it factors in, what not every sack, as Chris Long will say, is created equal. Sometimes Jalen Carter gets Nolan Smith a sack because they're running away from Jalen Carter
Yeah, right.
and running right into Nolan Smith. So you really have to look at each individual one. But that's a big number for a interior player who's not even your best interior pass rusher. That's a big number.
Should be interesting to see. We again, we know not all sacks are created equal because of Bryce Huff. All right, he hit double-digit sack. Everybody talked about
Poor
that.
Bryce Huff, man. Bryce
Oh, what do you mean,
got
poor
about-
Bryce Huff? He deserves some slack this summer, John. Listen, he's got the chance to right the ship a little bit, but
Well, I think most people ignore Bryce Huff, but the ones who don't just shat upon him.
John, this
Look,
has become our off-season comment, most frequent comment about you. Last year it was Saquon. This year it's been Bryce Huff. Like, I can't believe John is a believer in Bryce Huff still. They don't like that you're defending Bryce Huff.
If you listen to me over a long period of time, you will find I will temper your expectations when you go overboard, and when you go too far,
Right.
I tend to try to bring you back to reality. He's not the worst football player that ever lived. He had a difficult season, injured for part of it, which everybody ignores for some bizarre reason. Had surgery, which everyone ignores for some bizarre reason. So when you turn players into mythical creatures, and by the way, Saquon is as close to that as I've ever seen. But even he's a human being. But Jalen Hurts is a perfect example. Now he's a superstar. Now he's unfathomable. No, he's still got some issues. And when you act like players who performed in the NFL before are the worst thing that ever existed, yeah, I'm going to push back on that.
Right.
So it generally you'll notice that consistency if you're paying attention. So, generally when you hero worship, you're going to be disappointed. And Saquon's one of the rare instances who actually lived up to his reputation.
Yeah.
Which is,
Surpassed it.
I
Looks
talk
really
about all
good.
the time. Vic as well. And that's when you talk about the specialness of last season. That rarely happens. Rarely happens.
I think the big thing for me on Bryce, like I hear what you're saying. I don't think he's a total trash can of a player or anything, but I just think Vic is out on him. I mean, his defense got way better when Bryce stopped playing. I don't think he's the type of player that Vic wants. That my estimation on him is a lot less about the talent of the player and more just about, his skill set's not going to be used here in Philly at all.
Well, Howie might have Billy Beaned him, like I said. Howie might have said, "Hey, you better take a look at him because you got nothing else to take a look at." And by the way, Jalix Hunt, I think, has tremendous potential, but I think people are skipping steps on Jalix Hunt. And Ojulari and Uche, I think, are worthy dart throws. But let's be honest. I mean, they're 1 year. You can cut those guys tomorrow and not impact you at all.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, is the only reason that, like, if Huff didn't have the contract, would you put him in that convo? Because I think we would. Right? Like, the only reason we're saying that Huff isn't going to be cut like Ojulari or Uche could is because of the contract. That's it.
well, I mean, that's a more layered conversation. Like it's, and again, I think there's a lot of revision about Bryce Huff. Like the Eagles were out on a boat by
Yeah,
themselves,
no, I'm not saying
set
that. But I'm
adrift.
saying as it stands now, they did give him the contract and they are in the position
Well,
they're
that's
in.
part of the business of football. We talked about it with Dallas Goedert. I mean, yeah, he signed a $51 million contract. So he's a little bit more. So if he's got, I'm trying to add it up real quick, 37, 40, 46 million of dead money over the next 2 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, the business of football comes into it. But also from that standpoint of him earning that contract with his play in New York, again, the Eagles weren't the only team trying to sign him. And now people wish they wouldn't have won that battle. It was a pretty significant battle. It's about 4 or 5 teams in on Bryce Huff. So yeah, the contract is a huge part of it, and
Over
that's
under
why
5 games this year that Bryce Huff is a healthy scratch.
under, barring injury. Barring injury. Yeah, there's 2 things that are going to happen. 1, he's going to play, or 2, they're going to trade him.
See, I thought the business of football that you just mentioned would probably stop them from trading him.
Well, June 1st, it becomes more manageable. You still
What does
have,
it become post June 1?
well, a trade pre-June 1, you have, well, cut, what I just said, cut June 1 is just ridiculous. Pre-June 1. Trade pre-June 1, you have 21, 27, 30 million of dead money that gets accelerated. And you lose about 5 million of cap space, which is really not that bad. Longer term, it's a bigger issue though, because everything gets accelerated. Post June 1st, you actually gain some cap room. And it's more manageable of a situation. So it's possible post June 1st. But again, the problem with post June 1st trades is other teams are already their entire 90-man rosters are filled. Their budgets are done.
Right.
And will they make an exception for a player, a big time player? Sure, occasionally, on occasion. Even that, not much. So it becomes much more difficult.
That's part of the reason that Goddard's back, right? I mean, Goddard probably looked at the market and said, "Hey, everybody's
Exactly.
yeah." I mean, you're not getting a deal now.
If he's at free agency, if he's remember he was under contract. If he's unencumbered, if he's a free agent, unrestricted free agent, he's out of here. And he's got a better deal, probably not to the degree he wanted, but probably 2 years, 30 million, somewhere in that range, when everybody's flush with budget and everybody's, haven't drafted Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, etc. And even the second round guys, it's different June 1st. Everybody's already made their plans. So that's why it becomes much more difficult, but it's not impossible to trade him. And I think the 2 scenarios are, he's going to play if he's here to a certain degree, because he's just going to be better than the Uches and the Ojularis of the world. Or they trade him for something insignificant. They're not getting anything. Maybe a future conditional 6th, something like that. But those are the 2 things. If he's here, he's going to play because they don't have anything else.
Yeah. So you got a follow up here from Jason Gates. A lot of funny comments in the chat about Bryce Huff. He's definitely one of the figures that the Eagles fans got their targets on. Jason Gates follows up. He says, I agree. I should have probably said 2 or 3. LOL. Thanks for the informative answer. That's why you guys are the best. Go Birds. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. He had the question on a Jomo. So good stuff there. Appreciate everybody for being here this morning, by the way. We've got a good crowd in here again. Hit that like button for us. It's the best thing you can do to help us grow. I know we got a couple of our viewers who are down at the Truist, the golf event, which is at the Philadelphia Cricket Club golf course, which is a beautiful golf course. So pretty cool for our viewers who are there. I know Saquon's going to be there. Kelsey was there yesterday. I think our guy Joe Whipp, John, who's one of our great supporters here, is going to be with Saquon working one of the holes or something. So I don't know if Saquon's involved in it at all, or just
Saquon's involved in everything.
I know he is. He literally goes to everything. It's pretty funny. Saquon's living it up right now, post Super Bowl win, post historic season for Saquon Barkley. All right, John, are you ready to potentially, I'm not going to say guaranteed, but potentially piss off some viewers this morning?
I do it every day. Watch it today, P. Any different?
We just ranked the NFC East wide receivers. I feel like we got to do the quarterbacks too.
Oh, well, yeah, that's going to piss some people off.
All right, let's do it. We got 4 NFC East quarterbacks. Well, you could go 5. You could go 6 with all the Giants quarterbacks. All right. You got Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, Jackson Dart. Take your dang pick from New York. You got Dak Prescott in Dallas. You got Jaden Daniels in Washington. And you got the greatness of Jalen Hurts in Philly. John, how you ranking the NFC East quarterbacks right now?
I think Jalen is number 2. I think you can figure out who number 1 is. I think Dak is number 3, and I think Russell is number 4.
That's not bad. Here's my question for you, though. You didn't want to put Neighbors up at 4 because he hasn't done it enough. So why Daniels at 1? Only got 1 year, John.
Because he was spectacular in that 1 year.
I mean, Neighbors is pretty spectacular too.
Well, did he elevate his team from nothingness into?
Well, he doesn't have that ability. He's a receiver.
He doesn't. But the point is that Jaden Daniels did a heck of a lot more than Malik Neighbors. And I'm very high on Malik Neighbors. Jaden Daniels is a phenomenal football player. And, he doesn't have, again, quarterback evaluation is broken. That's why I know I have to do it, but it's broken. It's broken. So if you put them in a vacuum, who's the better player? That's how scouts do it. That's how,
right.
People do it. He doesn't have the supporting cast, Jalen. And that's not Jalen Hurts' fault. I know everybody's going to get upset and they're going to get their panties in a bunch and they're going to get upset because I said panties in a bunch and that's sexist.
Well, Jalen does have a good team. I mean, I think that's a good thing for Eagles fans.
It should be. He's got a great fucking, and that's not his fault. And he's a phenomenal player and he's an unbelievable. And I talk about all the positive traits. But he does not have the skill set of Jaden Daniels. He doesn't. And there's few people in the world who do. And some of them stink. One of them who does stinks, and that's Caleb Williams. So that's not just why. You saw what he did as a rookie. It's only going to get better. And I'm not talking statistically. Like, I firmly expect him to have a worse season next year. I've said it pretty consistently than he had as a rookie, similar to CJ Stroud, but he's going to be a better quarterback. He's going to get better and incrementally better. And if they ever put a similar supporting cast around him, look the F out. That's all I got to say. Give him the number 1 defense. Give him the best running back in history. Look the hell out. That's all I got to say.
It would be hard for me to dispute that. I mean, Jaden did a lot with not that much and turned an organization around that hasn't won in 20 plus years in the playoffs. So it's hard to dispute that. I'm not going to put him over Jalen Hurts yet. I think Jalen is still the number 1 guys in the NFC East. I got Jaden at 2. I got Dak at 3. And I think Dak and Jaden are closer than people think. I think Dak is better than Eagles fans give credit for. I do.
Well,
I just think
it's definitely better than Eagles fans.
I think he's a good quarterback. I think Dak is a good quarterback. Now he does struggle in the playoffs, which is a legitimate knock on Dak Prescott, who's just an interception machine when the lights get bright, and that does matter. But just raw talent. Dak 4, Jackson Dart number 4, or Dak 3, Jackson Dart number 4. But Russell, whatever, take whatever Giants quarterback you think is going to play at number 4.
Well, I think Russell's better than Jackson
Me
Dart.
too.
So.
But I'm wondering if they just try and get Dart out there. And
they will eventually. Yeah. It might be, it probably won't be week 1, barring injury. It'll be, when their season is over, they'll put Dart out there, which will be pretty quick. Week 7, week 8.
Right.
When it will be clear they're not going to be in contention, then you want to get the young guy out there. You never know, though. Russell can manage games and get you. That's what he did in Pittsburgh. Didn't look good, but they won some games. But yeah, people should have known going into the draft last year. I'm a big freaking Jaden Daniels guy. Yeah. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's... All
right, so we got some, John, the levels of stardom that you're reaching they know no bounds, as we have now an AI girlfriend for you, John. John McMullen's side chick is the name of the account. Checks in. Jaden Daniels is an elite talent. John is right. I don't know where this account comes from.
Yeah, getting me in trouble. I appreciate
Hopefully your wife's not watching the show. Yeah. Come on, man. This guy's got a wife. What are you doing here, man? Come on, show some respect.
Yeah. I just think it's, and I hate the term generational, but he's generational, man. This doesn't come around.
Man, you're really high on Jaden Daniels.
Yes, I am.
You're like super. You're like, you got him with the Burrows and the Lamars and the Allens and the Mahomes of the world coming up.
I mean, he can do everything. Obviously he's, he runs for almost 900 yards, whatever he ended up with, but he's a tremendous passer. Normally you have to grow. Even Lamar had to grow in the passing aspect of it, and he's still got to grow. I'm not saying that's the scary part. He's going to get better. I mean, look, I get, and I get the people that was a garbage team that I wasn't even thinking about. Even now, it's like they're not better. They don't have a better roster than Detroit. They don't have a better roster than the Rams. They don't have a better roster than the Vikings. They don't have a better roster. But why do people put Washington in the conversation? Why'd they make the championship game last year? Freaking the quarterback elevating people. He elevates people to a significant degree.
I will say that playoff game that they had versus Detroit, that was an insane game.
Yeah. And there's off the field stuff, there's injury stuff. They went through this in Washington before with RG3. People forget RG3's rookie season. And he got hurt. And he was never the same. So there's a bunch of stuff that can go into it that can derail it, but he can play the position, and he's got unbelievable traits on top of it. So, like I always this year I joke, Dylan Gabriel can play the position. Yeah, well, he don't have the traits to be a star. He's got the traits to be a superstar, and he can play the position at a high level. And that's only going to get better.
Now you will admit, though, and I understand what you're saying, that, if you take the odds, traits matter, obviously. But there are moments where traits are great and they don't pan out or they don't work. You've seen number one.
You said with Caleb Williams. Stinks right now.
Why do you say that? I don't think he stinks.
Stinks. Can't play the position. Hopefully Ben Johnson can
teach him to play.
Teach him. But he stinks right now. And that's the reason I liked Jaden Daniels better to begin with, and I would have taken him number. I thought he was more ready to play. And that turned out to be correct. And I've gotten a bunch wrong over the years, so it's not about spiking the football. But I just think he can play the position. And that to me is more important than traits. But when you add that and you have like top 1, 2 pick traits, then you got something special. And that's what the Commanders have. So they should enjoy it. Eagles fans, he's going to be a pain in the ass for a long time if he doesn't get hurt.
The way Johnny Mac's talking, this guy's going to run the NFC East. I don't see it. We'll see. Chris A.M. gives 10 membership. Holy crap. Chris A.M., thank you, brother. We got a lot of love this morning here on a Thursday, May 8th. How about that? A little Thursday love in May of the offseason. We appreciate all you guys. Chris, thank you, brother. For anybody that was gifted a membership, make sure you thank Chris A.M. All right. Chris is a big supporter of the show. Chris, thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. I got some words for you on Zander time too. If you stick around, I know you might be busy, but I appreciate everybody for being here. John, we got a great audience in here today. We'll take a quick commercial break. And then we'll talk about the defense coming out. All right. We talked a little bit about some of the players in the defense. More Rajomo was brought up in a super chat. We talked about him. We talked about Bryce Hufflepuff, who has been given. They were giving him nicknames in the chat. They were trying to see who could come up with the best Huff.
It's bizarre,
nickname.
Man. So I mean,
nicknames.
Look, when you guys go overboard, like I can't tell you how much I got shit on for calling Howie Roseman a top 5 general manager. 5-6 years ago. It was after, and Gil will tell you the story. It was after, sort of the downturn from the first Super Bowl into the Doug Peterson, the last year debacle. And I said, he's still a top 5 GM in football. Oh my God. I got shit on like you would not believe. Now now he's the greatest, he doesn't make mistakes. People are afraid to trade, but I bring it back. I try to bring it back. It's ridiculous. It goes too far. And when people, completely shit on NFL players who performed at a high level, granted in a different city, because, he struggled in his first year, and Howie brought up Javon Hargrave. A little bit different because, but Javon wasn't good his first year here. In the second year, turned into a Pro Bowl player. That's the comparison Howie made. And remember, by the way, I bring up Howie for a reason. The guy you think doesn't make mistakes gave him $51 million. So you got to work that out with yourselves. This is not the worst player in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles. But, if they see it, they see it. If they see it elsewhere, they see it elsewhere. But yeah, he didn't live up to expectations last year, to say the least. But that doesn't make him the worst player in the history of football. And that's where some of the people go with it. It's just crazy to me.
It is. And I will vouch for you. I'll say this. Back in 2020, John, when we first started, now you worked with JAKIB a little bit earlier than that when you were doing radio stuff, but when we first started posting on YouTube, which there was no consistency at this point, this was late 2020. You were going on some radio shows with Tony Bruno and a couple of the guys, and we were taking your segments and posting them to YouTube. And then you did your Saturday show, extending the play. I'm sure you remember it. I don't know if other people remember it, but that's how we started. Basically, the JAKIB YouTube was with Johnny Mac's segments. And I do remember you saying that about Howie Roseman. And at that time, it was like a big thing to post. You know what I mean? It was like, John says Howie's top 5. And it was like a surprise for people. But obviously now everybody's calling him top 5, top 3. So good stuff. Good stuff there. I appreciate everybody being here. Hit that like button. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back on Birds 365. Thanks for watching, everybody.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. Give me a follow on X at Real Zander. And if you're over on Instagram, you can follow me there at Zander Krause Show. And there's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen, the #1 Eagles beat reporter. Give him a follow at JF McMullen for all your Eagles needs over on Twitter. One of the best follows there is. So make sure you guys do that. We appreciate you being here today. Hit the like button on the show. We appreciate all of our great viewers in here right now. So appreciate all of you guys. John, I want to talk a little Eagles defense. You're coming off being the #1 defense in the league, and you lost plenty of players. My question for you to start will be, how much different or the same, and I'm not talking about players, I'm talking about scheme and how much they run nickel. Last year, I think it was like, 70% they were in nickel or whatever it was. How much different will it be, or how much of the same will it be this year when it comes to scheme and stuff like that with the defense?
Well, when you talk about personnel groupings, that's really not scheme related, more dependent on situation. So like I always say, Big's whole scheme is, if everything went perfectly, you play more traditional nickel with 4-man fronts because you're stopping the run with 4 men. You're keeping the extra man in coverage. So a lot of that is dependent on the success and how you're playing. And when you're #1, that's pretty much the optimal. What you saw last year was the optimal Vic Fangio scheme. And, again, if they're having trouble stopping the run, you're going to see more 5-man fronts. You might even see some 6-man fronts like he rolled out against New Orleans. if they're struggling to rush the passer, you'll even see more blitzes. He was typically, his history, he's going to be in the low 20%, but there's a few spikes that when he can't get home, he's going to send more people. And that puts less people in coverage. So a lot of that is dependent on game situation success. But what you saw last year is basically what he wants to play. Early in the season, you saw a little bit of the morphing because he didn't realize, and they weren't playing as well early in the season. But as things ramped up second half of the season, that's like optimal Vic Fangio scheme. That's, if things are going well, that's how he's going to play. You saw it at the Super Bowl. He didn't blitz once.
Right.
It's not like he didn't have blitzes in the game plan. Didn't have to.
So where my question really off this is, and I agree with you, that's what Vic wants to run. Obviously, it's what he ran in the Super Bowl, and it worked well. Where does Jahad Campbell fit, or where does the personnel that they have now to replace who they have, how do they fit into that defense, and do they? Because John, we talk a lot about how you don't want to fit a square peg into a round hole. The job of a coach is to accentuate the talents of his players. Last year, obviously, the players' talents were accentuated, and it worked. Do they have those players this year? Does having a joker in Campbell who can do different things, does that change how much you're in nickel? Like, how do you see that part of it?
No, I don't think it changes the personnel groupings much. If he develops into what the Eagles hope, and that's sort of a versatile Swiss Army piece who can play stacked linebacker, he can play edge rusher, he can play inside in obvious pass rushing situations. He can be a flat defender. If he can do all that, it just changes the things you can do with that personnel. So again, I think labeling is a big problem in the NFL. People are obsessed with it. And when you have players who move around, like, Van Ginkel's the best example, but for him, there's even more examples with secondary players because there's more of them who move around. Malcolm Jenkins did it here. Buda Baker's done it for years. Guys like that, Pro Bowl level players. Metellus is the guy who moves around the most, played 13 different positions one year. They're making up positions for him. There's more of those guys than there are front seven people, I would say, around the NFL. And the whole idea of positionalist defender that you hear, that's generally about back seven people, not front seven, not front four, excuse me. But again, he's the rare one sort of trying to overlap linebacker and edge rusher. And we'll see if he can do it. If he can do it, yeah, you're going to see some different looks, but the personnel groupings are not necessarily going to be different. He's going to be playing different positions. One, he might be weak side. I can envision down the road, probably not this year or 2026, where he's out there first down as a weak side linebacker, second down as an edge rusher, third down as a joker. And he might fall into coverage in second or third down rather than rush the passer. So that's the type of player you're looking at. But, from the standpoint of labeling him, and that's what Howie said. I joked, on the night he drafted him, he said, I don't want to put this player in a box. And since that moment, everybody's tried to put this player in a box. I think here's what I'll say about Jahad Campbell. If he's an off-ball linebacker strictly, something went wrong. If he's an edge rusher strictly, something went wrong. And by the way, that doesn't mean he can't be successful at either or. But that's not the plan. That's not the projection.
Either way, it doesn't sound good for Nakobe Dean, though.
I don't think it has anything to do with Nakobe Dean.
How, John? If they play nickel next year, and Dean comes off the field for Jahad Campbell, they ran nickel 70% of the time last year. Dean's not going to be on the field.
Well, when are we talking? Number one, we're talking. He's the middle linebacker. Jahad's not playing middle linebacker. Like
okay,
if they want,
nickel, all right, that's fine. In nickel, where is Campbell?
Week one he's not on the field, but
right, when he's healthy, I'm saying
he would be either edge rusher or joker.
And if he's joker, that would mean Dean comes off the field, right? You move Bond over to middle linebacker.
That means he's an interior pass rusher. That means Moro Ajomo's probably not on the field. That means he's an interior pass rusher.
Okay,
he's one of the front four. You see a team all over the NFL. Teams try to put
but that was my question, because if you don't take one of the front four off, then you're taking Dean off. You're not taking Bond off the field. So that was my question on it. But if you're saying they're going to take one of the front four off, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, if he's playing,
can't be as versatile with the player.
If he's playing that stand-up joker position, yes, the other defensive tackle opposite Carter comes off. It could be Jordan Davis, could be Moro Ajomo. He's playing edge, obviously, the cast of thousands, that Ojulari, Uche, Hunt, Huff, one of them isn't off one of them is off the field. Nakobe and Zach will be the nickel linebackers this year. Now 2026, that's a different conversation. I don't expect Nakobe to be here.
I just have a hard time seeing like where even Campbell gets on the field. If you're saying in nickel this year that Dean and Bond are going to be the linebackers, which I think you're right. I mean, he's not going to be on the field when they're in their base. It's going to be 5-man front. He's not going to be on the field there on the front. At least I don't think he would be.
Well, he's not. I don't think he's going to be on the field. I don't think he's going to be healthy. I don't think he's going to have an off season. I don't think he's going to participate in OTAs or the vast majority of training camp. Hopefully,
you're not projecting like a redshirt season. You're just thinking what, till week 8? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking second half of the season.
Okay.
So you don't got to worry about it for about, into November or whatever. And plus Vic is, if he's developing him into this all-encompassing role, that's going to take time to learn it. I mean, we used the Cooper DeJean. The reason we used Cooper DeJean, he missed 3 weeks of training camp. That's it. And it took him 6 weeks to get on the field. And he was freaking phenomenal. Took him 6 weeks because Vic didn't think it was ready.
Right.
Until after the bye week, which was week 5. So he was out there week 6. That's how long it took him. So I find it very hard to believe he's going to be in the equation early in the season. Now, when he does get up to speed, it's pretty easy to get him on the field as a pass rusher. Because again, you've lost Josh Sweat, you've lost Brandon Graham, you've lost Milton Williams. It's easy to get him on a pass, at least on paper, over Ajomo. It's easy to get him on the field in front of Ojulari or Uche or Hunt even. Now, if Hunt, because he'd be the one to me that has legitimate upside, real upside. If he develops all of a sudden in the first 6-7 weeks that you're not going to have Jahad Campbell, then it becomes more difficult. If Moro Ajomo develops and is playing lights out, then it becomes more difficult. But on paper right now, it's not difficult at all to get him on the field as a pass rusher in sub packages.
Where is he more versatile? Where can you make him a more versatile player though? If he lines up at weak side linebacker or if he lines up on the front four? Weak side linebacker, no?
Well, again, the labeling is the problem. Like, what does it matter? Like, he's playing off ball, or he's playing on the line.
If you take him off ball, that's where then I don't see where how Dean gets on the field.
Dean's the middle linebacker. He's not playing middle linebacker.
Okay, so you're taking Bond off?
No, Bond's not coming off the field. Bond's the only one who stays on the field all the time.
So it's one of the front four or bust, basically.
Bond's the dime linebacker. Again, what does it matter? He's going to be a sub package player to start. Cooper DeJean was a sub package player to start. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, forget about 1st and 10. He's not going to be on the field if Jacoby's healthy. And when he gets healthy, you got two players who, number one, have to get healthy. But for this season, again, 2026, he's probably going to be 2026 is where he's going to be. If everything goes to plan, if everything goes to projection, and it's a massive projection, that's where Bond's got to move to middle linebacker. He's got to start at weak side linebacker on 1st and 10. And then maybe if it's 2nd and 11 or something and you stop it, then he moves to edge rusher. And then if it's 3rd and 8, he moves inside as a joker. And that's where you see the versatility. If it's 2nd and 4, he stays at weak side linebacker, for multiple plays. But Bond has to move to middle linebacker. And that's been pretty consistent from scouts and everybody. I've asked everybody. Who did I ask the other day? Devin Jackson. I said, do you see weak side linebacker, middle linebacker? I read you all the scouting reports. Right. He's not a middle linebacker.
No, he's not.
He's got to be a weak side linebacker. Now, Zach can do it. The problem is, though, I think Zach's a better weak side linebacker than he is a middle linebacker. And that enables him to do some different things that you can't do if you're the middle linebacker. Jacoby's more important to this whole thing. There's another guy. People, I mean, that guy was freaking phenomenal last year, Jacoby Dean. And I don't know where the tide turns. Now, the injuries are a big concern, obviously. I'm not dismissing them. I'm just talking about his play on the field last season. That's all I'm talking about. It's freaking phenomenal. And he's got more responsibility. He's running the defense on field. He's lining up. He's making sure everybody in the front four and everybody and everybody's aligned correctly and all that kind of stuff. The green dot's a little bit overrated, but that's part of it as well. But he's the quarterback of the defense, and he's not going to be in 2026. There's when you have the questions.
Yeah, right. He's going.
But as far as, because then you're moving Bond into middle linebacker, and I think that limits his. And is Jahad Campbell going to be better than Zach Bond? Well, yeah, he's a 1st round pick, and Zach doesn't, but Zach did what Zach did, and Zach was phenomenal. I don't see anybody developing to that degree. And we'll see if even he can back up what he did last year, because probably not. That's how special his season was.
This pick is esoteric.
Yeah, it's another one. But you know why? And the same thing with Jordan Davis.
More so than we originally thought.
Well, not to me, but the same thing with the Eagles. When I called Jordan Davis esoteric, he's not esoteric inside the building. I don't think it's esoteric at all inside the building. I think it's esoteric outside the building, because look, everybody wants to label everybody. Like, forget about the Eagles because you haven't seen it. But when you have players like what is Andrew Van Ginkel? What is he? I mean, if you pick up a roster, it'll tell you he's a linebacker. It's not a fucking linebacker. Like, everybody's obsessed with labeling people. Like, so if that's the number one goal.
No, I'm just trying to envision life when this guy's an every down player on defense, and I don't really see what that looks like without taking somebody off the field.
Well, yeah, but it's easy to get certain people off the field. I mean, that it would have been harder for last year's team, because you want Josh on the field and you want Milton on the field. Then it would have been hard. But right now it looks easy. It looks
So
easy.
who gets hindered the most from Campbell? Jalen Hunt and Moro Ojoma?
Well, in 2026, I would say Nakobe, because he's going to be out of here.
And what do you think they're going to do? Slide ball in the middle?
Yeah. And this season, yeah, Ajomo or Hunt or Ojulari or whoever your favorite edge rusher is, opposite Nolan Smith, because everybody's got their different favorite. Whoever that guy is, and Moro Ojomo. Again, if the projection is. Otherwise, he's just a backup to Zach Ball this year. If the projection doesn't work. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with being a backup as a rookie.
No, there isn't anything, but you lost a lot of guys on that defense. And I think the expectation for many, which makes it esoteric outside the building, is that you got a guy that was going to be able to fill one of those roles. But I don't really think he can fill Josh Sweat's shoes. And I think he's a tweener between that and what Nakobe Dean is.
Well, he's definitely a tweener. That's what the people that had concerns over picking him high had two issues. The football one was he is a tweener. He's not big enough in theory to be a full-time edge rusher. And he might not be instinctive enough to be a full-time linebacker. So that was the concern from a football perspective. And obviously the even bigger concern was the health issues, which caused them to drop. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a projection. But all players are a projection to a certain degree. But to me, right now on paper, it's easy. If he were healthy, if he were 100% healthy and ready to go for training camp and OTAs and week one, it's easy to get him on the field and sub packages.
All right. Easy. So what's your 11? It's Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter.
Well, you're driving me crazy with the labeling. Even though I said
I just want the 11 guys. If it's easy to get them on the field, give me the 11 guys.
On what? Nickel on third and long or first and 10?
Third and long.
Third and long. It's Carter. It's, again, if he's healthy, it is Nolan Smith, Carter, Ajomo, Jahad Campbell. That would be right now, because I think I'd rather have Ajomo on the field than Hunt or Ojulari. But if Bryce Huff, I don't want to go down that route. But anyway, so you can take out Ajomo or Hunt, either way.
Right. Either
but
way.
For me, it would be Hunt before Ajomo. But either way, he should be versatile enough to do either role. If it's 3rd and 13, you get him on the field as a pass rusher. Now, if Nakobe's not healthy and he is, then you got to get him on the field as a linebacker probably. And that means multiple moving parts, because that means Zach moving from weak side linebacker to middle linebacker. And he comes in as the weak side linebacker. If Nakobe's healthy, I think he's strictly a sub-package player as a rookie. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So he's not playing on 1st and 10. He's playing in obvious passing situations to take advantage of his pass rushing ability. And sometimes he'll drop in coverage. Vic will use him. That's, as what he calls a flat defender. So You know,
Yeah, we
it'll
didn't even
be
get into the secondary. There's plenty of questions back there too in the five.
you know, a lot of people think because you had the Super Bowl where when everybody went through the film, the Eagles didn't blitz. The Eagles didn't blitz. And, well, they blitzed on this play. No, it was a zone blitz. So that meant somebody was coming and somebody was dropping.
Exactly.
And that's the case where Jihad can drop. If you're blitzing Zach,
That's clearly where you're going to get more versatility in the defense because he can do those zone blitzes really effectively, technically with his skill set.
So you're going to probably see more of that.
All right.
But yeah, he's going to start as a sub package player.
All right, we'll see how it goes. Let's get a couple super chats, then we'll get to our man, Chris Franklin. I see him in the green room. Chris, we'll get to you in a second. Appreciate you being here, brother. Amwan Atkins checks in. Thank you for the support this week, Amwan. You've been great, dude. He says, guess with all three linebackers in the field, they're going to be playing 3-3-5 nickel like they do in college instead of 4-2-5. I don't know.
Again, that's the labeling aspect. Is it he's listed again, he's listed as a linebacker on a roster, on a black and white roster. But if he's playing edge rusher, who gives a shit what he's like? It's like Josh Sweat was listed as a defensive end for years, wanted to change his number to 19 for some bizarre reason because Josh never had 19, but defensive ends aren't allowed to wear 19. So guess what? They changed him to a linebacker. That's what labeling means. Nothing. What does he play on the field? He plays edge rusher. That's what he plays. I wish people would call it edge defender. So yes, from the standpoint of what Anwan is saying, yes, you could have three linebackers on the field, but if Jihad is playing edge defender, what does it matter? What does the labeling matter so much to people? It drives me insane.
Master says, Xander, please get John and Sills together. I would pay to see John school Sills. What a show that would be. Did you watch our post-game show? It happened every week, brother. But I appreciate it. I would like to get them back together soon. Chris A.M. gives 10 more memberships. Thank you, brother. We appreciate that, Chris A.M. You're the man, brother. That's 20 today by you, Chris. Holy moly, brother. I appreciate that very much. All you guys. Appreciate the support in here. Hit that like button on the show. We got a good crowd in here for a May 8th Thursday edition. And now we are joined by Chris Franklin from NJ.com. You can go and follow him at C. Franklin News. He joins us right now. Make sure you read all his work over there at NJ.com. Chris, how you doing on this Thursday edition, brother?
Hey, I'm doing great, guys. And congratulations on the memberships and everything else. See you guys doing well. It's good to talk to you guys.
Thank you,
man.
Man.
Good to see you, Chris. You probably heard my little rant there about labeling.
Yes.
You know, I think it was funny after the draft, after day one of the draft, and the Eagles took Jihad Campbell. Howie Roseman specifically said, I want to put this player, Jihad Campbell, in a box. Didn't want to pigeonhole him. Can do a lot of different things. They're clearly projecting some versatility down the road. And the first thing everyone tries to do is label him. Why? I mean, why? Why? What is the obsession with? Is he? It's not like he's both, or at least that's the projection. That's the hope.
It's one of those things where you just want the instant gratification because you just know, okay, I want to know what to expect. It's like because we have the unknown. I'm pretty sure all the offensive coordinators out there want to know how you're going to use them. So it's one of those things where you just want to see, okay, where are you going to line up? Where are you going to use it? You can't put you can't really put a weapon. It's almost like you have offensive weapon on offense. You have a defensive weapon the way you're going to use on him because with Vic Fangio having him, and if Campbell plays up to the level he's capable of doing, I like this pick a lot, a real lot. You could just if you put it, I doubt we'll see it a lot like this, but if you put, say, Campbell next to Jalen Carter's at the one defensive tackle spot, then you have Campbell to his left, and then you have Zach Bond to his left. Now all of a sudden you're like, okay, we can slide the line this way. Well, which one's dropping back? Which one's there? Are the other two doing a stunt? And so you got all these.
We might get some Mike Zimmer sugar in the A gaps.
Yeah. It's so much you can do with this. So the labels right now, they don't matter. It's a matter. It may change week to week depending on the opponent. So I know everybody wants to see the gift. Like, I want to play the toy. I want to play the toy. I want to play the toy. Can't do it right now.
You like the player, Chris? It sounds like. What do you think of those injuries, man? Any concern on those? 2 knees, 2 shoulders? I mean, holy moly, man.
I think so. I talked to somebody a little bit after the draft, and when hearing that, it wasn't to the level of okay, it's bad. Yeah, they were concerning injuries, but it wasn't to the level of, okay, yeah, he's going to be a one contract and done guy, like some other guys we've seen in the past, like maybe somebody early on this roster right now who we will replace. So I look at that. I think it's enough to get by with that. It's the reason why he slipped, but it's not the reason why people don't think he can have a long career in this league.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is the immediacy aspect. The Eagles can afford to be patient, whereas some other teams cannot. And he had the March labrum surgery, which is not going to be a long term, like you pointed out. Maybe some of the other shoulder and knee issues are more the concern long term, but short term, all right, 6 months, he'll be back. But he had it in March. If you do the math, that's September. He's probably not going to be ready for week 1. He's not going to have an off season. A lot of teams are scared off by that, especially teams that have GMs who need to have impactful seasons to keep their jobs.
Yeah, it's all like you mentioned, like a lot of these teams that were higher up that are in that no man's land of possibly looking to be on the unemployment line, updating their resumes. Yeah, you can't take a pick or say, oh yeah, he's not going to be around for a little bit, and then you already start your season off with, okay, we wait, and there's those question marks on that. I think when you're in the back half of the draft, like the Eagles, like the Commanders, when teams like that, the Chiefs, you look at those, you can take risks a little bit, and you're allowed to wait because you've got some time you bought. So yeah, it's a little bit, it's quite like if you don't get that immediacy of having him on the field for that one. This is where the part of backdraft background that these guys have done. Do you think the player that can learn the system? Do you think he's one of those guys that can stay in tune with learning a new install, learning this one, getting those mental reps, or is he somebody who just starts to look away and go, "Ooh, bird, ooh, squirrel," well, there's something like that for it. Okay, something like that. And this is where you look at the guy like they did his background, his learning style, and the way that he can retain information, everything, pick it up quickly. Yeah, that's part of the whole process. So I think that's what went into it as well.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Chris. Chris, what are your overall thoughts, brother, on the draft? Sounds like you like the top pick, obviously, a lot, but they got big haul of players, man, 10 players, a bunch of undrafted guys. What do you think of how the Eagles did in the NFL draft this year?
I was surprised they took that many players. I thought they would try to move up a little bit, maybe trade a bunch of, or maybe trade more, like a couple of fifth rounders or whatever, to move up, say in the first or whatever, move up even more. And from what we saw from that video, it sounded like people were like, nope, not getting fleeced by you, man, not getting fleeced by that one. Or maybe try to trade a little bit, a couple of those picks. I know they have like a projected 12 or 13 next year. Maybe try to trade a couple of those picks this year to try to move up or get more assets for next year, so they can really try to get some either try to trade for a veteran or try to move up a little bit more, or just have those assets ready in case stuff doesn't work this year. So I was shocked to do that, but overall, I like a lot of the line moves in terms of that. I like Bark. I think the way that his brain, I know a lot of people are saying he's an immediate CJ Gardner replacement. He's good.
Yeah.
He's going to be okay. But safety in this system is one of the toughest positions to learn, because you have to either walk down, you have to know, okay, the cover's a third or sixth, there's a lot that entails in Vic's system in terms of that. So the only worry I have is people are going to think automatically, oh, he's going to be on the field, so he's CJ Gardner-Johnson, he's going to be great next. He's going to make mistakes. He's a rookie. He's going to need to build into that.
I brought that up yesterday, Chris. I was like, I saw somebody and I don't want to pick on him, but there's going to be a seamless transition from CJ Gardner-Johnson to Andrew Makuba. I'm like, no, there is not. Part of it is, and we just talked about Jihad. The first round pick is not going to be most likely in the mix to be an immediate contributor because of the shoulder surgery. So I think so many people are focused, well, that Makuba's got to get on the field. Makuba's got to get on the field. Well, there's going to be some hiccups. As Jim Schwartz would say, there's going to be some startup costs there if that's the case. I'm a little concerned about that, because there are high expectations for this player who's, at the end of the day, 64th pick in the draft. And I think there are some other safeties there that, in the groupthink world of the NFL draft, Kevin Winston Jr., Xavier Watts, might have been more prepared to play early in most schemes, but maybe not this scheme.
Yeah, see, I looked at some of those guys. Just I forget the Penn State guy, or I apologize, David Warren. So that, but I forgot. I looked at him and I was like, now I like Margo a little bit more. I really I liked him a lot because I think when you look at the long range projection of what he can do, it takes a lot of time. It doesn't matter who they're going to take. Whoever's going to be here is going to take a long time. But I think he has a higher ceiling and can use a little bit more, so you're allowed to take that risk. The only pick that I was shocked, the only player I thought would be a better Eagle who didn't wind up on this roster I was taken was Darius Alexander.
Yeah, I
And
like
yeah,
yeah.
and I really thought he'd be a good fit in here, just for the fact that I know it's like you're drafting a need at that point, and I know they addressed it later on, but yeah, I think people think of reaching like, okay, you need a defensive tackle, you need to get here, but
Right.
I just look
I
at
think
the
the
fact that
Giants
you got
got him, right? Did the Giants?
Yeah,
get
the
him?
Giants.
Mac very sick.
Boy, the Giants. You do some Giants stuff as well for NJ.com, but the Giants, man, they got a good defensive front. They got a lot of issues, but they got a good defensive front.
Yeah, and they're going to need to win games 6-3. Something like that. Don't have a shot the way they do
Probably.
that. But yeah, they
Now
did
they'll
that.
score 10. We were talking about Malik Neighbors. He's a good player. Yeah, he'll make some big plays, but yeah, they still have some serious offensive issues. But yeah, I mean the day 3 picks I loved for the most part. I thought there was a lot of good dart throws on day 3, like the upside of Ty Robinson. I like the upside of Smile Munden. The offensive lineman to get 3 guys like that with Jeff Stoutland. At least one of them's going to hit. I think you got a long-term backup in Colin McCord. Maybe you can spin them off when you need to spin them off down the road. And even the last pick, Antoine Powell-Ryland, productive college pass rusher. And they need some help on the edge. I wouldn't be surprised if he made the team and, both of these free agent Tamu off signings hit the street.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't expecting that.
John's been calling him Timu all offseason.
Yeah.
So I'm used to it at this point.
Oh God.
The
No,
Timu
no,
offseason.
no.
Yeah, I've dubbed it the Timu offseason. The free
Well,
agent.
you're gonna pay more because you're gonna have tariffs left with it. Sorry, never mind.
Yeah. Now I can't call it. Yeah, the tariffs have screwed up my. Thanks, Trump. The tariffs have screwed up my.
Sorry.
Timu plus tariffs is a luxury purchase now at this point.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Sorry. Ooh, continue. All right. Oh, but I think the one person that I think we haven't is being overlooked at or somewhat dismissed, Mac Williams. I look at him. I like his game.
Yeah, he's the one I don't know about. I was going to bring him up. I don't know what to think of Mac Williams. He can play. He played outside in college. I think most people project him inside. A lot of people thought they were going to take Shedeur Sanders. I don't know if that's the case, but I will say this, Chris, if you saw the unscripted Eagles draft room, the one poor edit was when they picked Mac McWilliams. They were like, oh, we're going to take Mac McWilliams. It was real quick and real jumpy. Clearly, they were going to take somebody else. And then they won to Mac McWilliams. On the other hand, they showed part of their passion meeting, what they called their day 3 passion meeting. And there were really guys in there advocating for Small Munden, advocating for Drew Kendall, advocating for Kyle McCord, advocating for Miles Hinton, but not Mac McWilliams. I think he was the one pick where it was, all right, we didn't get the guy we wanted. We got to shift real quickly. My 2 conspiracy theorists.
No, I think because the fact that it was leaked a little bit right before day 3, if he still, especially around that 5th round, and everybody was really talking about Shedeur Sanders to the Eagles and that one, and miraculously, the team whose general manager has a really good relationship with Howie Roseman miraculously jumps ahead of him just before it, and to take him and select him. And you look at and you read tea leaves, you look a little bit more, and all of a sudden the Eagles do get Kyle McCord later on. I'm putting two to two together. Yeah, I think it's a safe assumption to say that he was on their board, even as much as to say they don't talk about other players, what have you. And it's
Yeah.
funny because you look at the fact that during draft night, I, I know Martin asked about it. He said, "Oh, you can't do it. Can't talk about this, talk about that." But when Rich Eisen show, you hear how they talk about it, it's like, well, and he was dodging the question a little bit. Like usually, like flat out, you have a little bit stronger answer. I think Shedeur Sanders was really on the board. I think they were going to run it into it wasn't that trade. But when it comes to McWilliams, a lot of a very everybody thinks of big fan. You think of the high shell zones and then the guy for me. He really does play man. That I like this body positioning on him. I like it's almost like seeing Keely Ringo in a sense, where he could be physical on that outside. And I look at the tools that he has. I look at what he did at Central Florida. I liked a little bit. So I'm not going to say like, oh, I was watching Central Florida all the time ever since they left the AAC. I was like, yeah. But when you look at it, but you see enough when you're doing it in the draft process, you see a little more. Yeah, I like what he can do. I like his aggressiveness on the outside. He can get receivers, and he's refined it a lot more than what I saw some of his statements in his career. So I think it's a decent pick, but I think that they were going to go quarterback a little bit higher than they were going to with McCord. And that's not to discount McCord. I mean, to get a guy as productive as he
Yeah,
was,
I like that pick. I like Colin McCord at 181. That to me, you spin off Tanner McKee. Maybe he plays well in the preseason. Maybe you get who knows if Jalen Hurts sprains his ankle, he's got to play 2 games. Maybe AJ Belium. Maybe you get a 2nd-round pick if he plays well.
Yeah.
And then you have Tom McCord to be the backup and then you just do it again and spin him off down the road.
I think Dorian Thompson Robinson was like, I can't wait. I got to do this. This is great. I got to interview this. I felt the best situation. Their Eagles are on the clock. They have drafted Kyle McCord.
Yeah, not a good day. Not a good day for DTR, no doubt about it. But you know what? They'll probably get him back on the practice squad. They'll probably get all 4.
Yeah,
I would think, because nobody's going to give him a 53-man roster spot. So they'll be able to get him back.
Well, the Browns are collecting quarterbacks, so you never know. They could do that. So some weird Princeton quarterback where Princeton had 3 quarterbacks. Who knows? Maybe the Browns are trying to install that.
Just speaking of collecting, you're right. The Browns have collected quarterbacks. The Eagles were collecting mediocre tight ends, thinking they had to cobble something together. And all of a sudden, here comes Dallas Goedert for one last ride. They sweated, not swatted. They sweated Dallas Goedert, and he's back. Boy, I always thought this had to be once the draft passed and once the Eagles didn't take a tight end. This had to be the result. And they got him back, and they got him back at $4 million less. Great move for the Eagles. And maybe one of their first moves that is just about 2025 and trying to repeat. Because this is a really good player, Chris. And if they didn't have him, they were going to roll out Grant Calcaterra and Kylan Granson and Harrison Bryant. And that's just not good enough. And now they have one of the best tight ends in football for one more year.
And I didn't think he was going to leave. I didn't, because just looking at the whole entire thing, you look at if you trade him before, like his best value was going to be during the draft, before the draft, if you were to trade him because you get the assets in that one. Well, you would have lost like $8-9 million against the cap against if you trade him. So you would have to wait June 1st. But then after that, you're so deep into the teams don't have the money really to take on that type of a player that caliber and that one without taking them even more significant cuts. They wouldn't be able to do that. And then how many times have we heard almost as a stock answer so much? Well, the offense runs through A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. We've heard that stock answer. And then you just look at the way, are concerned about him staying on the field valid? Yeah. We've seen it year after year after year now. When you do get that player, it's important. And also, when you look at, if you don't have Dallas Goedert on the field, they also, the fact you got Jahad Dotson, you got to see that. You got to hope he takes another leap. You know that guy, whoever one of those 3, he's not going to get that. But you think the way that he operates, or if you move Devontae in the slot, you got somebody still operate in the middle of the field and take attention from those defensive backs. So it's one of those things where you just look at it. If you took him off the field, then all of a sudden you get like, oh, maybe we could slide a safety or whatever, Devontae. You like make those players less effective. So yeah, are they going to address it in later on? Do I can see him potentially maybe signing after this rework deal, maybe a year or two? Yeah, it's possible. I think next year is more of the way where you look at potentially drafting the player, or do you see a guy like, I don't know, Andrew trade a pick for somebody else who's about to go out, come a free agent or whatever, have him be your long term option. You do that because you know you got so many picks to do that, so you have the option there. But for this year, having him, I just didn't see him leaving, and because it's just too much against the weighing against it. Was it close? Yeah, I started to think like, yeah, maybe I'm wrong on this one. Stomach's not feeling right on this one, but
Right.
I just didn't see it happen.
What are your expectations for the offense this year, Chris? They're bringing back 10 out of 11 starters. The only change is going to be at right guard and a couple backup roles, obviously, with running back and on the offensive line. But you think it looks the same as last year, a little different, more passing? What are your expectations for the offense this season?
I think a lot of the base stuff will be the same, but I think there will be more focus on passing now. And I will say this, I think it starts off slow again because you have another coordinator, even though Kevin Patullo's been there for a while, even though he's been there through all these changes in offensive coordinators, it's still a different flow. I know you got training camp and OTAs to get used to it. It's just a different flow. So I wouldn't be surprised with a tough schedule with a lot of prime time. Like I could see it being like 3 or 4 first free games because they're Super Bowl champs. Being the prime time, we know that Thursday night game's on prime time. So yeah, I can see it starting off slow a little bit, and this is where you rely on defense. But then the offense is going to pick up the defense the 3 times where they struggle. So it'll be slow, but I still think it'll be a top 5 unit when all's said and done. And we're looking at the year. I think it's going to be one. I think you put the ball a bit more downfield, especially some of those deep balls, because it seems like Hurts is going to have a little more say now. He has that cachet now. I'm Super Bowl MVP. He knows Kevin Patullo a lot. Maybe you see a little bit more based off the play action. Maybe you see take more shots that way. But yeah, I think it's going to be the biggest thing is the adjustment of how Patullo is able to call the game at this level, and also just trying to get a feel for everything else and get into his flow because it's an art. It really is tough. It's art. You can have you can have an Andy Size read, Waffle House looking play sheet and what have you. But when you're in the balls are flying, it's going for real, and you have your situations lined up on that sheet, and you're trying to go back and forth looking this way. Some things need to flow a little more. Like you run a play, try run it later. So that's why I want to see how he gets going. So I think it might be slow start, but I think they when it's said and done, they're going to be a top 5 unit.
Yeah, well, they should be. They've been 8-8, and they should have been a top. Not that it matters, but I think you're right, Chris. I talk about it all the time. Look, everybody, this offense has been the same really through Nick Sirianni for the most part. Shane Steichen, Brian Johnson, Kellen Moore. It is because they're trying to take advantage of the quarterback and do what he does best. So it's been very similar. But I think of the 4, Shane is the one with the best feel in the moment, and things look the best when Shane was doing it for that reason. So you do have to see the feel, and taking that to the defensive side of the ball. Nobody's a better feel than Vic Fangio when it comes to pulling the right card at the right moment. I don't think anybody in Philadelphia, I'm gonna say that, is a bigger Vic Fangio guy than me, except the Philadelphia Eagles, because man, they expect a lot of Vic Fangio. Number 1 defense: Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, Oren Burks, Brandon Graham. Vic, go do it again with a bunch of Temu guys. Are they asking too much of Vic Fangio?
No, sorry. No, they're not, because you look at his history. Like his history has put him in that position because San Fran, Chicago, here, and you don't do that. Like the guy knows what he's doing. He's got that pedigree, and he has ways to get across to these guys to learn how to do it. And he's got the right assistants there that believe in him and learns to teach, know what he expects, and gets him there. You have enough pieces on this thing. You have guys who have played a lot of football, not just regular season, but postseason in college. Right? So they're used to playing a little longer. And maybe some guys in those smaller schools where you're like, oh well, we're out. We know we're going through thing. We're out. Okay, let's play in Boise in the Idaho Potato Bowl, and we're out. No, these guys stay around for a long while. They know what they're doing. They're better at that. You look at the stuff; it's a really complex defense, really complex system. But he teaches in a way they pick it up. So quarterbacks don't know what the heck they're looking at sometimes before, like after snap or just before pre-snap. They think one thing, you're like, oh crap. So then you got all this stuff here. Vic knows what he's doing. The players, the most important thing, and we heard it all the time before he came here with the Dolphins, with the Dolphins players, and imagine now looking at that now, Vic's defense and the Dolphins players are just going, well, he was too hard on us. He didn't like it. He didn't do this. Now, younger players, you think there's a larger generational gap. Guys like, I mean, honestly, some guys like, who's Vic Fangio? Because just with that one.
Yeah.
And now you're
you're
looking at them.
Younger guys sometimes they do what they're told, whereas the Jalen Ramseys of the world are like, man, I don't want to pay playoff coverage. I want to play press. I'm going to the Hall of Fame. I want to press. Yeah, you're 100% right with that.
And I think maybe that's one reason they keep going up. Well, the salary cap dictates they have to go young on that side. And who knows? Maybe we see that when you get a lot of these older guys get older because they're a very young defense. They get older, like, whoa, I want to try this and this. Maybe we see it later on. Who knows? But at least right now, they've bought in wholeheartedly, and they sent some messages to guys who haven't performed, who's sitting on the bench. So he's garnered that respect. He's learned to adapt to them. He's done everything right that you feel like, okay, you know what, Vic, do your own thing. He's like when you have an offensive minded coach, you need a defensive coordinator that is just running like a head coach on that side of the ball. Vic's done it. Vic's been a head coach on the side of that, or overall of a team anyway. But you know that he knows defense. He's allowed to do his own thing. He's earned the right. If you don't really see assistant coaches going to the Hall of Fame like that, you don't. But there's a case where you look at his impact on the game. You look at his coaching.
I agree. They're started to put assistants in. He's going to be in because I think there's that disconnect. I talked about it before the Super Bowl, and Zander could tell you. I said, no, Vic's the best defensive coordinator in this game. And everybody looked at me like I'm nuts because Spagnuolo's got all the rings and Vic doesn't. And I'm like, hey, in the industry, Vic's the guy everybody copies. Vic is the guy. Vic is the guy. I compared it to the NBA back in the day with Larry Brown and Phil Jackson had all the rings. But if you talk to people in the NBA, Larry Brown was the best basketball guy. He was the best teacher. He was the best coach, just getting people better. That's sort of the comparison I made with Vic Fangio. It's the guy everybody copied, the whole generation.
And to build off of that, when you look at it, everybody's trying to copy it. It's none that's been so successful as the original at all. No. So you see we've seen it here with Sean Desai. Look at Brandon Staley. He was good when he was with the Rams. I think he had some help his offense helped cover him a few times, so he got him that cachet because you were McVay. Oh, you're the greatest ever. You were part of McVay. Oh, hey, how you doing? Yeah, some of the spin-offs with McVay, but yeah, you look at Vic. The fact everybody tries to copy him and nobody can duplicate it. Yeah, it's something. He has just that enough of it. And not take away from Spagnuolo because I think he's more.
Oh, he's great.
But, Hall of Fame too, but yeah, Vic's done the same thing too.
Sean Desai gave it a good run to copy.
better than who replaced him. Better than him.
That's true,
right? He's in the Rams.
He's with the Rams. I don't know if he's I think he had a 1-year deal. I don't know if they brought him back. I have to look that up, but he did land with the Rams last season. He's now Cincinnati senior defensive assistant.
Okay, he went to Cincinnati. Chris, I want to ask you about the Cowboys, man. They picked up George Pickens yesterday. Now, I don't know what you think of that move, but how good or bad will the Cowboys be this year? What's your expectation on that team in the NFC East?
When you look at it, I don't know what they're doing. I don't. I like George Pickens the player. I really do. And I think he can have decent numbers. He definitely alleviates a lot of stress off of CeeDee Lamb. It really does. Dak Prescott has another weapon to run through too. But this is the type of move you make when you think, okay, we're a divisional round team. Okay, we need to get to the Super Bowl. Cowboys are not a divisional round team. They're not. They're at this point. I still think they're flirting with wild card. Not even that. Basically, Pickens makes them flirt with the wild card because there's no way they're better than the Commanders now. Definitely not better than the Eagles. And you look around the landscape of everybody else, the South got better, NFC South got better. But the Cowboys should have gotten one they should have drafted one in the first round because you don't draft a guard that high. But that's the whole thing. You don't draft a guard that high.
I agree with that, Chris, but I think he's going to be a good player. I agree with you. I can't draft him that high, but I think Booker's going to be a good player. So, they said the same thing. I don't want to compare him to Zach Martin, but people are, they wanted Jerry wanted Johnny Manziel the Zach Martin year till he got talked out of it. And now you got an offensive lineman who's going to the Hall of Fame, but I'm not saying Booker's that, but I think he's going to be a good player. But yeah, they took him too early.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be good. I look at a team like when you look at that, you could find guards that are athletic that can move out in space, what have you. And I'm not going to use the Eagles because I know Stoutland's just a unicorn in terms of that. But you could find a lot of good offensive line coaches can find guys in those third, fourth, fifth rounders and not discounted because we've seen Landon Dickerson and Mekhi Beck, what have you, do well on the inside. Tackles are much more important. So if they took him as a tackle or whatever, or just use a tackle at that spot, I get it because you just need to keep the protect that quarterback, what have you. Yeah. But to use that value for there, and then now you're chasing, and then I thought the great Jonathan Mingo trade they used. They tried to go. They traded
Jonathan Mingo, yeah. Brandon Cooks, yeah. They haven't done well trading for wide receivers, but to your larger point where you started, and I think this is relevant. The Cowboys are going to be better than they were last year. The Giants are going to be better than they were last year. The NFC East is getting a little bit tougher, Chris. A little bit tougher. Washington's going to be a good team. And we all know this division. What is it now? 21 years, whatever it is. No repeat champions. If you look at the 3 games, because the Eagles came in first place, the 2 conference opponents, the LA Rams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the interconference, Buffalo Bills, all first place teams. The schedule's more difficult. Everybody's getting a little bit better. Are we having another NFC East champion? It's very early, but soon we'll be playing that's a win, that's a loss when the schedule comes out. Are the Eagles capable of ending that streak? It is significant. 2+ decades. Nobody has repeated in the NFC East.
Yeah, I think they're capable, but I also think there was going to be a tie. It's going to come down to a tiebreaker. Right now, this is my gut. I think it's going to come down to a head-to-head tiebreaker with the Commanders. And I can see them finishing with the same division record. So I forget what it was. I just got in my gut. I'm like, either they're going to get it by the skin of their teeth or they're going to be on a wild card team. That's why I'm going back and forth on that because I think the Commanders are just a really good team as well, too. I've seen the moves they made, not so much anybody's like, they're the best team. They won the draft. Not because they won the draft, just overall. The main thing is just Jaden Daniels is getting better. He's got another year of experience.
I just got in trouble earlier in the show by saying a certain someone is the best quarterback in the division.
I don't think he's the best division. I don't think he's the best quarterback in the division, but I think he's going to be. I can see a case for it being made, maybe in a couple of years if he does take the Commanders to full win one.
Oh, in a couple of years, it's not even going to be close.
If he wins, I think if he wins one, or I think if he wins one, and that one, I still think Jalen Hurts is the best one in there. But I have him as a top 5 quarterback. I think Daniels is going to be solidify himself as a top 6, maybe a top 5 this year. I'm that high and bullish on him. I thought he was really good coming out of college last year. I didn't more than Caleb Williams. I didn't know.
I had him number 1. I'm spiking the football.
Yeah, it's fun to see that too. It's like that's not just Caleb Williams will be a good quarterback. I just said Jaden Daniels would have that extra layer.
Well, Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson's he doesn't know how to play the position. Jaden Daniels knows how to play the position. Ben Johnson's got a lot of work to do.
He never trusted USC quarterback.
Caleb Williams, he's got a ton of talent though. Ton of talent. He made this one throw on the sidelines. There's like 2 people in the world that can make the throw. But, you got to learn how to play the position.
Where'd he go to college, though? He's got the curse on him, man.
Oh, you can say he also went to Oklahoma, so you could say that.
But going to try to claim originally. Okay, I got this right here too. Like, no.
It's like somebody asked Joe Burrow if he considers himself a Ohio State quarterback. It was a pretty good answer. He said, "Well, I practiced football at Ohio State, but I didn't play football there." It's a pretty good answer.
Good answer there. Chris, thank you, man. Got a lot of great answers from you today. We appreciate you doing it. As always, make sure you guys follow him at C. Franklin News and read his work at NJ.com. Chris, thank you, brother. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, man.
Sounds great. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, buddy. Good seeing you.
There's Chris Franklin. Great job by Chris Franklin. Always good to get Chris Franklin here on the show. Johnny Mac hasn't even talked to Chris in a little bit, but good to get him up. Good responses from him. We got a couple minutes left here on the show before we wrap this sucker up. And we got one super chat I got to get to. Anwan Atkins again followed up. Anwan, again, thank you, brother. He says, John, I understand what you were saying. I understand what jokers do. I remember when Jim Johnson used Ike as his joker. Here, he rushed from A-gap, lined up all over, center, drop back sometimes. There you go. So Anwan knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't understand the obsession with labeling. I mean, there's certain, I get it from the standpoint of, and part of it is the business of football again, which is not the fun part.
Yeah, right. I mean, you can't blame
you have to label people for contracts and all that, blah, blah, blah. But when you're on the field, if you're playing like Malcolm Jenkins did it here for a number of years in the secondary, sometimes he was playing linebacker on a particular play and he wasn't playing safety. Sometimes he was playing slot corner. Sometimes on the rare occasion, he was an outside corner. One season, Jim told me he played 8 different positions. So, that's kind of what I'm talking about. On specific plays, he'll be playing different roles. And at least that's the projection. If he can get to that, but that also takes a lot of responsibility. You have to learn a lot of different roles and not everybody's capable of doing that. So, if he ends up being just an off-ball linebacker or just an edge rusher, Eagles are probably a little bit disappointed from the projection standpoint.
That's true. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, your final thoughts on today's Thursday edition of Birds 365. Thought we had a good show today.
Yeah, back over 1,000. I love when we get over 1,000 live on off season. So I appreciate everybody. And Chris Franklin helped pushed us over. I didn't think we were going to get there today, so he pushed us over. Thanks, Chris, as well. But yeah, news keeps coming. It'll keep coming. Dallas Goedert Day. Big get back for this team in 2025. Chris opened the door for future. I don't think I'm not going to go that route. I think it'll also be a farewell tour essentially. Yeah. But it worked for Josh Sweat, so maybe it works for Dallas Goedert.
Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. We will catch up with you tomorrow on a Football Friday. Hey, maybe we talk later today. When we ended the show yesterday, Jed, I didn't think we were going to talk later in the day, but they brought back Goddard, and then we did talk. So I won't rule it out completely, but if not, brother, I will catch you tomorrow on a Football Friday edition of Birds 365.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen, the number one Eagles. Sorry, Chris, the number one Eagles beat reporter in town, joining us here at JF McMullen. Give him a follow over there, and we appreciate him for the great show today and for what he provided all week long. So appreciate that from him. Appreciate everybody in the comments today. By the way, we had a great super chat day. We had a lot of members today. So Chris AM, thank you. Jason A-Team dropping 100 banger at the start of the show. Are you kidding me? 8:05 or 4 minutes into the show, and A-Team said, boom. Thank you, A-Team. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you, Jason Gates. McMullen Side Chick is a funny name. Anwan, Chris AM, Master Eagle. Thanks, all you guys. I appreciate each and every super chat today. Appreciate all of you guys for contributing. I always tell you it does go a long way at helping us grow and helping us stay on the air. So thank you so much for that. We got Goddard back, everybody. And my question to you will be, what are your expectations for the offense in 2025? You're bringing back 10 of 11. Oh my gosh. This man, Chris AM, drops another 100 banger. I got to send this to John. Let me take a picture of it and send it to John. I'll take a picture of that and send it to John. Holy mackerel. Thank you, brother. Chris A.M., thank you, man. Thank you, bro. I really appreciate that. It goes a long way, as I always say. I will. I just screenshotted it, Chris. I'm going to send it to John. I'll text it to John. So thank you, bro. I appreciate that. You guys are killing it today, man. I appreciate all the support. My question here on Zander Time from an Eagles perspective is, by the way, you guys were off the rails. You guys were off the rails in the chat today, all right? So I didn't touch on a lot of what you guys said on the chat today, but I have thoughts on it all, but I won't touch on it too much, all right? I appreciate all of you guys being in here, though, making the show, obviously, a success here in the offseason. You know, I got an email yesterday of one of our great viewers who goes back and forth with me about religion and stuff. He's a great guy. I love talking to him. But he's like, I can't watch in the offseason, man. Too much speculation, too much. And I'm like, come on, man. That's fun. It's entertaining. That's where you can talk about things and think about things. But it's not for everybody. We do appreciate you guys, though, helping us grow in the offseason. Goes a long way. So big thanks to all of you guys for being here and for showing out. All right. R. Anthony checking in. I'll get to some comments on the expectations for the offense. Again, bringing back 10 of 11 is a damn good thing for a team that just won the Super Bowl. I don't think we could have asked for much more on the offensive side of the ball. Bringing back 10 out of 11. So pretty good. R. Anthony says 12-5, 11 out of 17 games we're in the playoffs. Well, I'm not sure what you're referring to with the 11 out of – oh, you're talking about teams that we play? 11 out of 17 games, the teams are in the playoffs? That doesn't scare me too bad. A lot of parity in the NFL, man. A lot of stuff changes each year. NFC North was great last year. I think the NFC East is going to be great this year. We're playing the North. How good are the Lions with 2 new coordinators? I don't know. I think they're still going to be good. They still got great talent. Talent doesn't always mean you're going to be a great football team. We had great talent in 23. What happened? So, let's see what happens. All right. Vikings are a great roster. Again, I'm a little suspect on their coach, and I'm a little suspect on their quarterback. All right. So they're great. The Packers, have they done anything to get over the edge? I mean, the Packers are this team that's teetering on the brink of getting really good, and they just won't make the move. They won't make the move. I mean, I know they drafted Matthew Golden, and I saw Brandon tell me yesterday, hey, man, they drafted Matthew Golden. I'm like, all right, good player. The Titans told me they drafted Treylon Burks too, who was supposed to replace A.J. Brown. So let's see. I mean, Matthew Golden's a wild card right now. So AFC West is good. AFC West is good. We're playing the AFC West next year, right? Which is the Chiefs. You got the Chiefs. You got the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos. Are they on the schedule next year? Schedule comes out next week, by the way. Schedule comes out next Wednesday. Yeah, so you got you got the AFC West next year. Yeah. Do the Raiders scare you? I mean, really? The Raiders with Geno Smith, bro? I don't see that. I don't see them being a problem. The Chargers, Now, Callie, my point was, I know Treylon Burks was never good, but you remember he was a first-round draft pick, Callie. My point is that the Eagles got a certified player in A.J. Brown after 21 when they were on the brink. Remember, we went 9-7 or 9-8 or 9-8, whatever it was that year, made the playoffs, lost in the first round to Brady and the Bucks. Then that offseason, they went and got A.J. Brown. They drafted Jordan Davis, and they took the next step at becoming a legitimate team. Look at what the Commanders have done. They got Jaden Daniels now this offseason, whether you like the moves or not. They brought in Deebo Samuel. They brought in 2 offensive tackles. They took the jump to get to the next stage, okay? When you're the Packers, who I think are right there, they're close. They're not making the jump. Make the jump. What are they waiting on? Make the jump. Matthew Golden's not making the jump. They didn't make the jump. Even the Cowboys tried to make a jump yesterday with George Pickens. Like, Matthew Golden is a good draft pick, but let's see. Let's see what the guy is. The Packers refuse to do anything, though, that makes that really catapults them. And I think they have the chance to be pretty good. I kind of like their coach. Not a huge Jordan Love guy, but let's get to SMD Eagles. What's up, Murray? Appreciate you being here. Hey, Zander, give me your best guess on who starts at right guard. Great show today. Go Birds. See, Murray, this is an interesting one. I think the leader in the clubhouse is Steen. You spent a 3rd-round draft pick on him. I think he was 65th overall. If you think about it, Makuba was a 2nd-round pick, but he was 64th overall. So, like, you're in that range. I think from that perspective, Tyler Steen is the favorite. I wouldn't sleep on a guy like Trevor Keegan, a guy who was drafted in the 5th round last year. You know, he spent a lot of time on the practice squad. Matt Pryor is probably an interesting one who I could see being a guy that wins the job because he's got a lot of experience. So, but you're saying, give me your best guess. It's boring, but it's Steen. It's boring, but it's Steen. I mean, it's Steen. Kenyon Green screams Mekhi Becton. No, he doesn't, Ian. Not in my opinion. Not in my opinion. I don't think Kenyon Green is the player that Mekhi Becton was. Maybe. I mean, maybe. Look, I see a couple of you guys saying Green. SMD says you're going with Steen. I'm going to go with Steen. SMD. That would be my guess. Now, I don't say that with full confidence. I don't say that like, get ready for Tyler Steen. I'm just saying, you worded it. Give me your best guess. At this point in the offseason, May 8th, my best guess is Steen. I think you bring up a good one in Pryor. I mentioned him. I could see Pryor winning it out. Johnny Wilson's hilarious. Where's Brian Pumper? No Brian Pumper today. Where the heck are you, Pump? Pryor, yeah, Pryor's interesting. Pryor's got a lot of experience, too. So I could see Pryor. Ian says 1st-round bust turned into a starter. I see the comp you're making. I got you, though. I got you. Good comment there. Appreciate you, SMD. Appreciate you guys. Schedule's interesting next year. You got the Bills, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Chiefs, Chargers, Vikings, Giants, Communists, Bears, Lions, Broncos, Raiders, Rams, Bucks. Ooh. We got a hard schedule next year. Bills are a good opponent. Cowboys are a good opponent. Packers, decent opponent, good opponent. Chiefs, good opponent. Chargers, good opponent. We don't have any shoe-in games next year. Guys, we don't have one shoe-in game next year. Raiders. I don't think Raiders are going to be very good. I'm sick of playing the Bucks too. Why do we always play the Bucks? Why do we always play the Bucks? Bro, our schedule is crazy work. 12-5, told you, Big Z. Yeah, you're not far off where I was. I mean, last year I had him 13-4. And I think you come back a little bit this year. What is the Commanders' schedule like this year? Let's look at the Commanders' schedule this year. Who are they playing? Yeah, that's right. Bucks always finish first in the South. The Commanders got a similar schedule, right? They got Seahawks, they got Raiders, they got Broncos, so they're playing the AFC West too. They got the Chiefs and the Chargers. They're also playing, who is it? Are the Dolphins, are they the AFC South? Sometimes I mix up my divisions. No, they're the AFC East. So you got the AFC East. Yeah, because you guys are playing. No, you're not playing the AFC East. You're just playing the Dolphins. Dolphins are East. Thank you, Dank. You guys got a pretty tough schedule too, man. Falcons aren't tough. You got a decently tough schedule too. You guys got a decently tough schedule too. What's the Cowboys schedule look like? Let me see their schedule. Ooh, Cowboys is easier. We're all playing the Raiders. The Cowboys have games like the Jets and the Panthers, though. Panthers could be a sleeper team, but NFC East is playing NFC North and AFC West, and the last couple games are the different ones. Gotcha. I knew it was something like that. I get mixed up on the schedules. I won't lie to you guys. They confuse the hell out of me. Like, where the hell are we pulling this from? All right. We ain't got to play nobody. They all got to play us. Well, it's a good. I'm looking at the Eagles' schedule. From an Eagles' perspective, we are playing teams. Would help if I joined the Discord. Let me see this thing. I think someone sent me the Discord yesterday. I've been busy, guys. Let me look. Yeah, Kirsten, you sent it to me. I don't have Discord, though. What are you goons talking about in there? Yeah, I got to download Discord. We all have Z. Yeah, I know. A bunch of you guys said it to me. I don't know what you want from me in there. What do you want? What do you want? Huh? What do you want from me? I'm downloading the app right now. We'll see. All right, we'll see. I don't know what the Discord is, brother. Discord stinks, Ryan says. Ryan, that might be one time we agree. That might be one time we agree. Join the dark side. I didn't get an invite, you a-hole. Twiz, that's how I feel. YouTube is enough brain rot for me. Between YouTube and Twitter, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. All right, again, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate it, though, man. Chris AM, Jason A-Team. Chris AM also gifted 20 memberships. I mean, you guys are legendary, so I can't thank you enough. Amwan, you've been killing it too, bro. Amwan's dope. Amwan, thank you, sir. SMD, as always, been a member for a long time. 10 months. Thank you, SMD. Pretty dope. Last year at this time is when last year, you can see SMD member for 10 months. Last year is when I really started promoting the memberships about 10 months ago before the season in July. And you guys remember we were gearing up for the giveaways of the Saquon giveaways in the season. That morphed into a lot more giveaways. I still have some more stuff to give away. So we're going to have some fun stuff this year. Don't worry. All right. We're going to do a bunch of good stuff this year once the season rolls around. Obviously, as you guys know, it's the offseason. All right. I'm not making as much money in the offseason. Our profits are not there. So I can't do as many giveaways in the offseason here. But once we get back to the season, I will be giving away a bunch more stuff. Johnny Mack and Sills need their $1 million paychecks still in the offseason. All right. So let me see if I can. I don't think I have a. I do already have a Discord account. I don't know where it came from. I think maybe I used to be in a stock account. I'll look at it after the show. I saved you 40%, Xander, $50. On what? On what? I don't think you can share links in the chat. There it is. I don't know if it'll show up for everybody. Abe's a reg, so that's probably why they let him share it. But give it a try, Xander. Well, I'm going to give it a try just because I like you guys. All right. I like talking to you guys. You guys are my friends. I told you guys my wedding is. I'm booting the family members out of the wedding. Rico, I own some crypto. I've owned crypto for a long time, Rico. The problem is I sold it when I owned it in like 2015. I'd be rich. All right, I'd be rich. Rico, you want to hear something hilarious? You guys were talking about some illegal substances on the chat today. Back when I was like real young, I bought an entire Bitcoin when it was $200 a Bitcoin. And you know what I did with that Bitcoin, Rico? You can take a guess. You can take a guess what I did with that Bitcoin. All right. Most expensive bucket of weed I've ever purchased. I spent an entire Bitcoin. Are you kidding me, man? Xander going to pick his best man through a shuffle. No, not that. That's my brother. That's my brother, man. That's my brother. My brother will be my best man. Not pizza. No, not pizza. Unfortunately, that Bitcoin is no longer in my account, okay? R.I.P. to that Bitcoin. Man, that sucks. That sucks to think about. Thanks, Dank, for bringing that up. Whoever, was it Dank that brought that up? No, it was Rico. Ian says, I wasn't there for the giveaway. I won, and the postage is $50. $50 is light. It was $50 to send it to Canada. That is sad, Rico. I'm with you, my friend. I'm with you. But it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. Onward and upward, my brother. All right. Onward and upward. I got one of these things. Where is it? It should be sitting on my desk. Look, Rico. I got a little ledger. This is what holds all my crypto. All right. So see, I'm privy to the game. There's my ledger. All right. Why are we taking long to sign Simmons? What do we need Simmons for? Do we really think that we need Simmons? Jeff Bone? Do we really think that we need Simmons? I don't think so. I mean, maybe if Makuba's not good in camp, then sure. But if Makuba's good, I don't see it. All right. It's a very young secondary. That's a good point, Ian. We don't need him, but I'll take him. I'm with you. R. Anthony says no. Don't need him, but good insurance and mentorship. I like him for that reason, Daz, the mentorship and stuff, because you do have a lot of young guys, as pointed out there by Ian East, but he didn't really play great football last year. I'll say that. I mean, whatever metric you want to use, stats, PFF, anywhere. I mean, he wasn't a great player. Hasn't been a great player in the last couple of seasons. So his best football is definitely behind him. I don't really view him as like a sign him and your whole secondary is a lot better. I don't know about that. We do have a young team, a lot of energy. Well, it's a young man's game. I think you got to have some balance of leadership, but remember, our young guys have more leadership experience than most young guys in the league. I mean, Jalen Hurts is 26. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. A.J. Brown's 27. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. Like, find me other 27-year-old players who have been to 2 Super Bowls. Find me a quarterback that's 26 that's been to 2 Super Bowls and won one. There's none. There isn't one. Jalen Carter's a third-year player. He's been to 1 Super Bowl. He wasn't here in 22. Jordan Davis has been to 2 Super Bowls. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, these young guys have more experience than most guys their age. And remember, a lot of them came from colleges where they played at a high level as well, and they won national championships. Now, I'm not saying that's the same, but that type of experience in winning is certainly a good thing. It's certainly a good thing. But I'm with you, Ian. The bigger question mark for me is Ringo. He needs to be good. Otherwise, do you play Jackson or move Cooper? And that has a knock-on effect. You're right about that, Ian. That's a good point. If you got to move Cooper outside, now you're opening up the slot. I think Cooper would be amazing outside. I don't think Cooper would struggle outside at all, especially in zone, especially in the Fangio defense. I'm not asking him to play man-to-man on Jamar Chase, which I think he could do. Damn, this is a dilemma for real. I want Simmons. Well, John just wrote an article. I'll talk to John about it tomorrow. John wrote an article about Eagles didn't fall for the big name trap. So maybe he thinks they shouldn't. I meant to bring it up today, but we never got to it. Sometimes the show goes by quick, you know. I come in, I got a paper full of things, topics and things that we can talk about. Sometimes a topic takes 20, 30 minutes. But I think that's when it gets better. That's what makes people smarter. And that's what I think makes our fan base enjoy Birds 365 is, you know, we don't just talk about the surface layer of a topic. You get deep. You talk about the things that, you know, could go right, could go wrong, layer, scheme, structure, players, coaching, everything. So it's a good thing. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I'll bring it up tomorrow, Kirsten. All right. Well, I'll bring it up tomorrow for him. Actually, let me write it down. I've reached the age where I got to write things down or I'm toast. Still need Simmons. I'll see. We'll talk about that tomorrow. All right. Friday show already shaping up to be a W. Yeah, we'll see. We're gonna have a good show tomorrow. I'm gonna try and get a guest, maybe Ed Kratz or somebody, and we'll see if he can join us. So I'll work on that today. Man, I have John work on it too. So, all right, everybody. I appreciate all you guys being here. Great show today, as always. The offseason's going good if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I would say. I mean, you lost 4 starters on offense, but you had a big draft of defensive players. You got 10 of 11 offensive starters returning. And, I mean, I think you're in a pretty good spot coming back into the year. Now, the biggest question for me is less about the talent you lost. And I know it's a big thing, but how do you recreate the magic of last year? That was tough, man. Les Bowen not coming on no more? I don't think so, Abe. I mean, he's never told me that, but I mean, he might not come on after my White House take, because he was one of the people who called who said Saquon Barkley isn't intelligent enough to know what he did by hanging out with Trump. And like, I get a kick out of people who say had a problem with what I said, which I don't care if you don't like what I said, but I was accused of things which are untrue. And then you see Les Bowen, who's on the other side of the spectrum, talk about like that. And I'm like, is that not disrespectful? I said I wanted Jalen to go as a leader of the team. Didn't say anything about it. And Les Bowen, I should read you guys the tweet. The tweet was insane. I mean, it was really a shitty tweet, man. Saquon is a good person and wonderful player. It's tricky when people in sports with huge platforms and good intentions blunder into stuff they don't grasp. To me, this is Reggie White at the Wisconsin legislature level cluelessness. Not a bad guy, but out of his depth. Oh, yeah. So Saquon's dumb and can't think for himself because Les Bowen doesn't agree? Come on, Les. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous tweet. I'm not self-righteous enough to think that everybody thinks like me. All right? About politics, about religion, about football, about anything. All right? Now, I can have a take you don't agree with, but I will never say anything like that. That is just a really stupid comment, but whatever. I digress on that. All right, I appreciate Les is allowed to say whatever he wants, Tom says. Yeah, no shit, Tom, and I'm allowed to criticize it just like I got criticized when I made a take that people didn't agree with. All right, Tom, if you want to go butter him up, then go for it. I'm allowed to have an opinion just like you are. Where did I say Les isn't allowed to say what he wants? What? Les is allowed to say whatever he wants. What are you, his mother? What? Les is allowed to. Thank Captain Obvious. It's like the people who told me Jalen can do whatever he wants. No shit. What the fuck? No shit. That's why he did whatever he wants. That's why he's not there. He did whatever he wants. I'm not saying he can't do whatever he wants. I'm allowed to criticize it. All right. Yeah, I'll get a giveaway tomorrow, Brandon. My problem is I haven't sent out the other stuff, so I gotta get to that, dude. I'm out of the thing. My problem is I'm out of the packaging, so I got to go and buy more of the packages to ship it. So I don't have anything to put it in, but we'll see. All right, we'll see. Tom wins the dumb comment of the day, and the winner of the day is we got two winners of the day: Chris AM and Jason A Team. All right, Chris AM and Jason A Team are your two winners of the day in the chat, and Tommy McBallsack is the loser of the day. So thank you, Tommy. I appreciate all of you guys for being here, watching the show. It's been great viewership in the offseason. Thank you guys very much. And I'll see you next time on Birds 365.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.